G'day, I'm Stephen Page from Provan Family and Fertility Lawyers in Brisbane, and thank you for watching and listening to the Australian Family and Fertility Law podcast. Today I'm talking about something very quick, which is the Monash IVF's payouts. You'll remember a year ago that Monash IVF, which is a very large, the second largest IVF clinic in Australia with clinics in most states, got itself into hot water twice because there'd been the wrong embryo used. In one case, it had been discovered that a couple had had a child through an embryo from another couple, and it was only 18 months later or thereabouts that it was discovered when an audit was done that the wrong embryo had been chosen, and that occurred in a clinic in Brisbane. In the other case, the clinic in Melbourne, a lesbian couple went to get treatment, and the plan was to use embryo from woman 1 to be implanted in woman 2, but it was the embryo in woman 2, the embryo from woman 2 that was implanted in woman 2. So that caused a lot of grief for Monash IVF and directly led to the 3-month regulatory review by health ministers, which is likely to have some changes to the industry. I should say that IVF in Australia is very low risk. The reports of the first error is the first time that's ever happened, and to put things into context, there are about 100,000 IVF cycles in Australia each year. Our IVF industry is world leading, and until the news last year, there'd never been a story of this kind. And it was said with the independent review that Monash undertook of both cases that the Queensland case was human error, and the Victorian case involved a series of errors, a systemic error, and they're identifying and working on that to fix that. The news that broke last week, and this video was recorded on St Paddy's Day in March by both the Herald and Weekly Times and by The Age, is that there were multi-million-dollar payouts by Monash in both cases. And they've been subject to secrecy provisions, but nevertheless, those matters are now finally at an end. And hopefully the systemic changes that Monash put in place means that these kinds of events will never happen again. Thank you for watching and listening. I'm Stephen Page from Provan Family and Fertility Lawyers in Brisbane, and this is the Australian Family and Fertility Law podcast.